Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening live to the first ever Championship Reigns podcast in collaboration with the one and only Voltage Live. Brandon Lewis, Josh Unger, every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time will bring you the honest sports debate on the internet for 1 hour. I have never been so excited to introduce somebody in my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, my co host for the first time ever on the Championship Rings podcast, Josh Unger. Josh, how's it going today?
Pretty good. Well, on YouTube, I actually go by Unger to the max, but you can call me whatever you want. We have that type of friendship now. Um, but yeah, I love doing these debate style shows, and when you and I have done them in the past, we don't usually agree on a lot of stuff. So that's going to make it more fun.
We are going to be hopefully revolutionizing the sports world. We thank you guys for all of your support. As always, you can check us out on social. You can follow us on Twitter at Rings Champion, also Instagram at Rings Champion. Once again, we are in collaboration with the one and only Voltage Live. Thank you for Voltage for making this possible. Josh, let's get into our first ever topic on Championship Rings, which features the state of the running back position. There are two running backs in the National Football League that have been in the headlines lately, but none, not so much recently, as the one and only Jonathan Taylor, who, of course, requested a trade from the Indianapolis Colts. And Jim Irsay, the owner, says he's not going to trade him. But, Josh, there's a lot going on right now in the NFL when it comes to the running back position. But specifically as it comes to Jonathan Taylor, do you see him being traded out of Indianapolis?
No, because what teams are going to take him with the way they don't value the running back? I, I mean, think about it. Like, Tyreek Hill got traded out of Kansas City last year to Miami, and everybody thought, oh, the Chiefs are going to fall off the face of the planet. And what happened? Patrick Mahomes said, no, we're just going to go out there and win another Super Bowl. And who did they have as their running back? Isaiah Pacheco, or however you say his last name. In this case, it doesn't matter. But that's my point, though, is teams don't value the running back in the same way. So, yes, Jonathan Taylor's a great running back, but with the league, with the way the league is right now, it doesn't matter.
So this is my take on the entire running back position, because there have been numerous running backs lately complaining about that the NFL isn't valuing the running back position. I have a counterpoint to that. I think the league does value the running game. I don't think they value the bell cow running back position that we have seen in the past anymore. Everybody knows it is vital. You have to have some sort of running game to win a championship. You just cannot throw the ball every single play. But the day of a lead running back leading you to Super Bowls has been far and gone and away over the last 10 years, and it's going to continue to decline. The last 10 Super Bowl winners, 8 of them have not had a 1,000-yard rusher. They've had a totality of 1,000 yards on the ground, but not a single 1,000-yard rusher. And when you look at the top running backs in the league currently, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley. These guys are either not making the postseason or they are getting bounced in the first round. And the reason that is because most of these backs have either gotten paid or that want to get paid. In most situations, they are on a team where they maybe have a below average to average quarterback. In the case of Tennessee, Derrick Henry needing to carry the offense. Prior to Deshaun Watson, you can make the case Nick Chubb carrying the Browns offense. I still make the case Saquon Barkley carrying the Giants offense. So
you can't make that case about Austin Eckler and the Chargers offense.
No, you cannot. But that's why the Chargers do not want to pay Austin Eckler, because they have a great quarterback in Justin Herbert. If you have a great quarterback, You do not need a great running back. You still need a good run game. You don't need a great running back. It's why I believe Cincinnati's going to move off Joe Mixon at the end of this year. It's why the Eagles moved off of Miles Sanders. The Eagles are paying five running backs a lower amount of salary than what Carolina gave to Miles Sanders. They're going to get similar production out of DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, etc. You do not need a big time running back if you have a big time franchise quarterback.
Yes, but
Indianapolis, though, Indianapolis, though, has a rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson, who I think has the potential to be a star. And they're not paying a lot of players on the offense side of the ball. I do believe they will eventually get a deal done with Jonathan Taylor. No, I do not believe he will be traded.
so we agree. Wow, we actually agree on that. But here's the thing. Sure, you don't. The days of the bell cow running back are over. I agree with you. We haven't really had one since Marshawn Lynch with the Seattle Seahawks. That's the last time, a Super Bowl champion really had like a dominant running back, I would say, back in 2013. So that's the 10-year window, like you were talking about. But at the same time, you see a lot of teams, yes, they're relying heavily on the passing game, but at the same time, a lot of that passing game is what? The play action. So, but in order to have an effective play action uh, passing game, you need to have an effective running game. So the two go hand in hand. And the best way to have an effective running game is to have a running back like a Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. We haven't mentioned him, but Josh Jacobs, he's at odds with the Raiders. It's that same type of situation. They don't need to be the bell cow 1,000-yard running back like what you were saying earlier, but they need to be effective at the same time. It's somewhere in that middle ground, if that makes sense.
I agree to disagree with you because I think the best way to have an effective running game in today's NFL is to have a mobile quarterback. What opens up the holes for a lot of those running backs is having a mobile quarterback. The Eagles in 2021, Baltimore in 2020, they didn't have a Josh Jacobs type. They didn't have a Nick Chubb, a Derrick Henry type running back. They had three, four multitude of running backs. They still led the league in rushing. Why? Because they add Lamar Jackson, because they add Jalen Hurts. Chicago last year having Justin Fields accounting for a lot of that running situation. So I do agree with you. Quarterback's best friend is a play action game, but I don't think it necessarily means that you have to have a great back. I think I have called the running back position the human turnstile position because that's what it is. Sub in a back, get a good offensive line, and let the back ride the wave.
Yes,
There,
but
go
yes,
ahead.
but here's the thing: is if you continue to have your quarterback constantly do runs, you're going to get them injured. We saw that with Robert Griffin III. I get that that's a little bit of a different scenario because he didn't necessarily want to slide. But, you know, how long can the Buffalo Bills, for example, sustain having Josh Allen basically do everything for them? I don't think that's a sustainable formula
And
for
I
them.
agree, which is why they need to get a running back in some sort of run game. So it
Exactly.
doesn't
That's
necessarily have to be a great back. All
I'm
right.
not saying that.
Speaking of another back, this guy's also been in the news recently, that being Delvin Cook, who has reportedly been on visits with the New York Jets. He's also reportedly going to visit with the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. Supposedly, he wants to go to the AFC East. Josh, where do you see Delvin Cook ending up?
I really don't know with this one because from what I've heard, his visit with the New York Jets went well. But at the same time, I'm like, do the Jets really need him? They have Brees Hall coming back. Uh, Granted, he's coming back off of major injuries. So that could be a good, rep- respite for him. I'll give him that. But I think he would be better suited in Miami. Because think about it. Tua can't stay healthy, and we want to put the Dolphins in that Super Bowl contender discussion alongside the Cincinnati Bengals and Kansas City Chiefs. No, I'm not including the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl contender discussion. That's a different discussion for a different day. But with this, with this particular subject, if you bring Dalvin Cook to Miami to go alongside Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, that takes a ton of pressure off of Tua, who we saw suffered two major concussions last year. He should not have been playing in that Thursday night game against Cincinnati. But again, we can talk about that on a different day. Think about that. He's it goes back to the discussion we were just having. Sure, he's more of the old school running back, if you want to call it that, but it would be effective for what Miami needs and what they want to do. So I think it's Miami.
The interesting thing is Minnesota moved off Dalvin Cook with essentially no consequence because they like Alexander Madison. And it's supposed to be a debate show, but I agree with you once again. Now the New England thing to me makes no sense. I mean, New England has no weapons. They're clearly the worst team in the AFC East. Dalvin Cook will not make a difference for them. The Jets don't need him. It'd be another piece. You have Michael Carter, who they supposedly may move off of. You have Brees Hall. I think Aaron Rodgers really wants to recruit Dalvin Cook because he's seen him, for so many years in those NFC North battles. Dalvin Cook is a very good running back. He's still a top 10 back in the NFL. But Miami has those two great weapons. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They did lose Mike Gesicki, the tight end, to New England. They need a little bit of a run game. I think Chase Edmonds might still be there. Not sure on that. But Miami, they need Dalvin Cook, more than the Jets and more than New England.
The fact that, think about this though, the Patriots have now been connected to two big time names, DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook. Obviously, they didn't end up with DeAndre Hopkins, and they're probably not going to end up with Dalvin Cook. But it's just kind of interesting to me that the Patriots have been connected to both of those guys, in some capacity.
Well, we've talked about the AFC East a little bit. This next division is possibly the toughest division in the history of the NFL, at least in modern NFL history. You have four football teams that all legitimately have a chance, I believe at least, to go over 500 and maybe possibly make the postseason. Mr. Unger, the question is the AFC North the best division in football in 2023?
If the Arizona Cardinals actually were a competent football team, I would say the NFC West would have a legitimate argument in this. But I because of the Arizona Cardinals, I have to say yes. Because think about it. The Bengals, they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They were in the AFC Championship last year and nearly knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs. Baltimore, they re-signed Lamar Jackson. They bring in Odell Beckham Jr. They've got Rashad Bateman. They have Mark Andrews. J.K. Dobbins is healthy, so that's going to give them another weapon. They really like Zay Flowers from what I've heard. And then, Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season since he's been the head coach in Pittsburgh. I really like what they have at wide receiver with Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. And Pat Fryermuth is a very underrated tight end. And Kenny Pickett took some major strides forward at the end of last season. And then Deshaun Watson, he doesn't have to worry about all the suspension and, what's going to happen with all this and that. No, he can just focus on fully learning Kevin Stefanski's playbook. And the Browns have a decent wide receiver core. I'm not fully sold on it. I like Amari Cooper. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like David Njoku. But there's nobody that I really love if that makes sense. But yeah, all four teams, for different reasons, have legitimate shots at making the playoffs. The Bengals have a chance at winning the freaking Super Bowl. If the Ravens can, figure out their defense, yeah, they could have a shot at winning the Super Bowl.
Before I answer this question, I have to first acknowledge that I completely disagree with your opening remarks. That is, that if the Arizona Cardinals were good, the NFC West might have a chance, because the NFC West wouldn't have a chance regardless, because the Rams stink, Seattle's okay, and San Francisco don't have a quarterback. So the NFC West is completely off the board. That being
Damn.
said, this comes down to two divisions: the
Okay.
AFC East that we just talked about, and this division on the screen, the AFC North.
What
And
about the AFC West?
to me, well, the AFC West, no, because Vegas is going to tank for Caleb Williams, so take them off the board. I would agree, but Denver's going to be, and the Chargers should be decent, and you got Kansas City. But these four teams are probably the most even teams in a division this year in the NFL. You already mentioned the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, E. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Logan Wilson, Trey Anderson. They're absolutely loaded, and as long as they have Joe Burrow, if he's healthy, they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. Last year, Baltimore, first 10 games of the year, was the only team in the NFL to have a double-digit lead in every single game. They were 7-3 until Lamar Jackson got hurt, just like the previous year. When Baltimore is healthy, and they have a lot of what ifs because their running backs are always hurt, and they added Odell Beckham, who's always hurt, and their defense is always hurt. They don't have a lot of corner help, and obviously Lamar Jackson's always hurt. But for some reason, when Lamar Jackson plays, they win games. Same thing can be said about TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't love Pittsburgh's rosters as much as you do. The receivers are decent. I like Pickens. I like Johnson. I'm not in love with really any of them. Najee Harris is the most overrated running back in the game. But the Pittsburgh Steelers always win games, and I'm done doubting Mike Tomlin. And then there's the Cleveland Browns, who we all know, you mentioned it, the Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefanski saga, if you will, going into last season. Pressure's on. If the Browns don't win games, Stefanski and Andrew Berry are getting canned. Browns have a very good roster. Jim Schwartz, new defensive coordinator. Bubba Ventrone, new special teams coach. All four teams in this division have a chance to finish above 500. The last place team in this division could go 9-8, and dare I say, the third place team could go 10-7 and miss the postseason. That's how brutal the AFC is. I rank this a little bit over the AFC East because I think the last place team, which whether you think it's Cleveland or Pittsburgh, there's a real debate there. Either one of those teams, in my opinion at least, is better than the last place team in the AFC East, which will be New England, as we've talked about earlier. I think the Dolphins, the Jets, the Bills, all three of them are very formidable, right there with Cincinnati and Baltimore. But in totality, the AFC North is a tougher division than the AFC East. And I don't think anybody in the NFC can really challenge any of these guys. The Giants, I'm on record. The Giants are going to completely stink again this year. I just talked about Arizona stinking. The NFC North is a bunch of 8-9 win teams, and the NFC South's a crapshoot. So the NFC can't touch the AFC, but I do believe the AFC North is the toughest division in football this year.
I agree with you, but I think you're dismissing the Rams a little
The
too
Rams
much.
have no defense. Maybe one person besides Aaron Donald on their defense. Name me. I can't name you one person on their defense.
Oh, right. Leonard Floyd isn't there anymore,
He's
right?
not there. They don't have Jalen Ramsey. Their corners are both rookies. They drafted in the third and fourth round.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Matthew Stafford is old and banged up. Stenson Bennett's going to probably start by midseason. They have Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. That's it. And by the way, Seattle still has Geno Smith, who knows if he's going to replicate what he did, last year. Seattle's a good team.
Whoa. Are you seriously just dismissing Geno Smith and the Seahawks like that?
The Browns have an opportunity to be better than Seattle. Like the Browns.
No. Oh,
Seattle.
come on.
Yes, it is.
Whoa.
Are you kidding me?
Dude, the Seahawks have a chance to. Okay, right now, I would say the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles are the two big dogs in the NFC.
Okay,
Do
third
not.
is Dallas without question. Third is Dallas
No.
without. Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it's
No.
Dallas. It's better than Seattle. Are you kidding me?
Are you
Dallas
just.
is better than Seattle.
What?
Listen,
No.
they are miles ahead of Seattle.
No, they're
Yes,
not.
they are.
Are you
Dak,
kidding?
Joe Howard,
The
CeeDee
Cowboy.
Lamb, Brandon Cook, Stephon Gilmore,
The
Micah
Cowboys are at best. The Cowboys are the fifth best team in the conference.
Parsons. Who do you?
Yeah,
Seattle and then who? Seattle and then
Detroit.
who?
Detroit.
Oh, come on. The Cowboys are better than the Lions. Stop making this. The Lions are going to be so good. The Lions got to prove it. The Lions got to prove it on the field.
Are, you're lucky. The only reason I'm not playing the Cowboys sixth is because nobody in the NFC South is legitimate.
So you would take the Lions over Dallas. I completely disagree with you on that. I think
Heck
the Lions
yeah.
are good, but when has Jared Goff ever, outside of the game last year at Lambeau, the last game of the year, maybe a time Jared Goff played good outdoors?
Okay. How about the 2018 game against the Kansas City Chiefs?
He was
When,
at home in a Ram in California. He can't play outside of 40 degrees.
you,
He can't. Well, look at the numbers, and I like Jared Goff. I would say the Lions should keep him and not draft a quarterback, but he can't play outdoors.
okay,
And I
okay.
like them offensively, but I can't name one defensive player they have either other than C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Aiden Hutchinson?
Okay, Aiden Hutchinson, yeah, I'll give you it. They have one pass rusher. That's it. Dallas has 11 from Evan, the best defensive player in football. DeMarcus Lawrence, top, 5'10" corner and Trayvon Diggs. Added Stephon Gilmore.
Oh my God.
Come on.
No, I'm not putting Dallas ahead of Seattle, and I'm not putting them ahead of Detroit. Seattle, you said it earlier. San Francisco, we don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. Seattle has Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, who was a very good running back, and they have DK Metcalf. The Seahawks could overtake the 49ers in the NFC West. I fully believe that.
You trust Geno Smith to do that again?
Yeah.
Listen, I think Geno's going to be decent. I don't think he's going to replicate what he did. And Seattle only won, 9 games last year?
And yet they still made the playoffs. And
in a weak NFC, which is exactly my point. They're going to make the playoffs again this year. I have them at 9-10 wins. But then I have Dallas at 11 or 12.
You trust Mike McCarthy as the offensive
No,
play
not
caller?
at all. But you know what? It doesn't matter because they're in such a
Yes,
weak
it
conference. They're
does.
just going to win games.
I don't fully trust Dak Prescott.
I don't fully trust Geno Smith either. I don't trust either of them, but I like Dallas' roster better.
I trust Geno Smith more than I trust Dak Prescott.
All right, we got to move on to the next question. That being, we're going back to the AFC East. We're talking about Mr. Ayahuasca. Oh, I feel so good now. I'm with the New York Jets. That being Aaron Rodgers. Josh, the impact Aaron will have on the New York Jets will be?
I mean, they're going to get better quarterback play because you can't get much worse than Zach Wilson and Mike White.
Don't forget Joe Flacco.
Oh, yeah, I can't forget Joe Flacco because he led the Jets to a major comeback against the Browns. Although I would say that was more of a Browns collapse rather than the Jets comeback. But that's besides the point. I mean, the Jets, we talked about this earlier. They have Garrett Wilson. They have Breece Hall hopefully coming back off of injury. And they have other great weapons. I just can't remember off the top of my head. You'll have to fill me in. But, they think, oh, we have Aaron Rodgers now. That's our missing piece. I'm not fully convinced about that. Yes, like it seems like Aaron Rodgers is happy and he's fully bought in on all that. But as you and I have been talking about, the AFC is loaded. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers, maybe Denver bounces back. We'll see. We talked about how good the AFC North is as a whole. Jacksonville is still around in the AFC South. Maybe Tennessee improves. We don't
Don't
know.
give me Tennessee. They stink. Don't give me
Okay,
Tennessee.
okay, but you okay, okay. Forget Tennessee for the but and then in their own freaking division, we have the Miami Dolphins, who could be legitimate if Tua can stay healthy, and the Buffalo Bills. How are the Jets? Where do the Jets fit into the discussion? I don't know. I legitimately, I legitimately do not know. So Aaron Rodgers will make a difference, but I'm not sure if how big of a difference that ultimately will be.
Let me help you. Let me talk to you, as the great LA Knight would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, we're going to go over this logically because we know we have four division winners in the AFC and three wild cards. Division winner number one in the AFC will either be Miami or Buffalo. In the AFC West, you're going Kansas City.
Yes.
AFC North, a lot of people are going to say Cincinnati. Maybe make an argument for Baltimore, but I'm going to say Cincinnati. And in the South is obviously Jacksonville. So that's four spots right there. So, in
Okay.
my opinion, you are talking about either the Bills or the Dolphins. Again, it really depends on Tua's health, in my opinion, to get one spot there. The Chargers, Denver, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, the Jets. That's seven teams I just named. And you could even, if some people want to throw in New England, though I doubt it, but if you want to throw in New England, maybe even Pittsburgh, make it 8 or 9. There's about 8 or 9 teams fighting for two spots.
What
Uh,
if Anthony Richardson proves
and you know
himself?
he could pop, but the AFC is so loaded. I think the Colts are going to be good, but they're not going to be good enough in that loaded conference. So you
But
have
don't you think they need to be at least included in the discussion?
potentially. We'll see. I think they get
More
off
than
to a slow
Tennessee.
start. Okay, that's fair. So with that being said, I think one of the Bills or Miami, whoever doesn't win that division, should get a playoff spot. So now you're looking at, can the Jets get one of those last two wild card spots? If the Chargers don't make the playoffs this year, Brandon Staley's getting absolutely fired, and it would be a disaster.
He
They
should have gotten fired the last
He
year
should
after.
have, but they have to make the playoffs with that roster. So now you're looking at one spot. Is it Baltimore? Is it, the Browns? Is it Pittsburgh? Is it the Jets? Is it Denver? That's like 5 teams you're looking at for about one spot. It's going to come down to those head to head and divisional games. And, the Jets, I think they're going to end up with 9 or 10 wins. And it's all going to come down to tiebreakers. There is a chance they get into the postseason. I really think it's about 50-50. If they do get in, I think they'll lose in the first round. It really depends on how the cards fall. I sort of think Denver now, with this Tim Patrick news that he's going to be out for the year, KJ Hamler's going to miss some time. That sort of takes them out of it. I'm not as big of a believer on the Browns. I think they'll get about 8-9 wins. So I'm leaning towards, yes, they sneak in with 10 wins right above the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they are the number 7 seed. Listen, they won 7 games with just defense last year. They didn't have a quarterback. Aaron's got to be worth at least 2 to 3 wins.
Yes, I agree. But I could actually, like we've talked about, Mike Tomlin has not had a losing season. And if Miami hadn't somehow pulled a win out of their ass last year, the Steelers would have made the playoffs.
Yeah, they would
So,
have.
so look out for the Steelers. I think they're going to be a problem in the AFC. They could be the team that. Do you remember their run to the Super Bowl in 2005?
Yes, I do. They were a
They could
wild card team.
they could pull off. I could see maybe not this year because I don't want to put all of that on Kenny Pickett, but maybe in 2 or 3 years, if Kenny Pickett continues to develop this way, They could pull off another run like that.
What about this team here, the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Ramsey? That news to me is the difference between you going on the road in the playoffs and you having a home playoff game. I had the Bills and the Dolphins right there. The Stephon Diggs news kind of turned me off Buffalo for a little while. I thought the Dolphins, if Tua is healthy, their roster is absolutely better than Buffalo. I think they're a very good team. They're about a 10 to 12 win team with Tua in there. The Dolphins are one of the hardest teams to figure out. They could either win 12 games or they could win six. It all depends on the health of their quarterback. But this is huge news here with Jalen Ramsey, Josh, because I believe ultimately it decides the division.
It, it's hard because the thing with the AFC East is, other than Mac Jones, unless he somehow takes a massive step forward, you have three elite quarterbacks, or yeah, three quarterbacks who should be elite. Let me say it like that. Because you've got Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and Tua. The, but the major question with Tua is, can he stay healthy? Either way, though, you're dealing with Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen. You need to have a surefire defense, when you're facing them. And as we've talked about, the AFC has other amazing quarterbacks in this division. Your defense needs to be able to hold up against these wide receivers and against these quarterbacks. So it's a massive loss for the Dolphins with Jalen Ramsey. I would still give the Dolphins the slight edge over the Bills in the division, just because I think Miami has more diversity on offense. I think Buffalo is way too pass happy offensively. Yes, I get why, because they have Dawson Knox, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and they just added Dalton Kincaid in the draft. But, we were talking about it. Maybe the Dolphins are going to add Dalvin Cook to go alongside Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That adds to what they can do offensively, and it balances. So that's why I would give the slight edge to the Dolphins, but it's a huge impact for the Dolphins defensively, if that makes sense.
Well, I'll tell you what. We've gone through almost the entire AFC. We haven't talked a lot about the NFC because mainly all the big teams are in the AFC. But Josh, to wrap up this NFL segment today on championship rings, we have each come up with a list of our top 5 games of the 2023 NFL season from 5 to 1. I'm going to go ahead and let you, partner, kick us off.
All right, so how are we doing this? One game at a time, or all five at once?
I want you to list all 5, and then I will list all 5.
All right.
We'll react to
So,
it. Go ahead.
shoot, I forgot to write this list down. My bad. But I know two of them right off the bat. We've got at number 5, week 17, I believe it is. It is the Pittsburgh. I'll double check on this, but it is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Seattle Seahawks. This game is going to be massive. These two teams usually play fantastic games when they face each other, aside from Super Bowl 40, which an argument could be made that it was rigged towards Pittsburgh, but I'm not getting into that right now. As we've talked about, Seattle and Pittsburgh are both going to be factors in their respective conferences when it comes to the playoffs in some capacity. So this game could determine, some type of playoff positioning. Like, if Seattle beats Pittsburgh, they move up into the number 3 seed or whatever. Or if Pittsburgh beats Seattle, Pittsburgh moves into the number 5 position in the wild card. Something like that. I know they're not division rivals or anything, but because it's a late season game, I think it'll have that type of massive implications. Number 4, I'm going right to the night game on Thanksgiving in Seattle. It's the San Francisco 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks. This is one of the best, first of all, this is one of the best rivalries in the NFL right now. I would say for me, it's the number two rivalry, only behind Ravens Steelers. But these two teams are going to be fighting each other all season long for the top of the NFC West. I could see either team winning this division. Um, I know you disagree on that, but whatever. So, Seattle, San Francisco on Thanksgiving night in Seattle is a gigantic game. All right. Number three, I wasn't talking to you. I don't remember what week it is, but the Cincinnati Bengals head down to Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe this is a Monday night football game. We know what the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be. They've got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. I want to know, hey Jacksonville, was that just a fluke season that you had last year, or was that the start of like something special for the Jaguars? Can Trevor Lawrence take that next step forward? I want to see a little bit of evolution from Travis Etienne. I want to, like, can the Jaguars overall take that next step forward? And this is going to be a great measuring stick for them on prime time at home against the arguably the favorite in the AFC, the Cincinnati Bengals. All right. So that brings me to number two. I want to give the Browns a game here, but I just can't do it because I don't trust the Browns at all yet. I need to see it from them. So for number two, I'm just going to tell you right now, number two and number one both involve the Kansas City Chiefs. You can make an argument for whichever way you want to flip this. But number two, I'm going Buffalo Bills at Kansas City Chiefs. It's Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes. We've seen this game play out. You know, it was arguably the best game in of the past 5 years when these two teams had their shootout. And, you know, we had the whole 13 seconds. And then it's easy for me. Number one, it's late in the season. I think it's on Christmas, actually. Or it's on New Year's Eve, one of the two. But it's the Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs. A rematch of the last two AFC championship games. Joe Burrow has never lost to Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. You know, there was talk of, should we rename it to be Burrowhead and all this and that. You can tell these two teams do not like each other, and it's the last few times these two teams have played each other, it's been a fantastic game. I can't wait for this matchup.
I have been sitting here patiently, salivating, and waiting for you to finish your monologue because I have a lot to respond to. And I have a feeling we're depending on a case of whatever you like to drink over this football season because it is my turn now. Because
What are you, Skip Bayless?
these are the top 5 NFL games in my opinion, and I, in my opinion, believe this is the correct list and in order. Here we go. Number 5.
Oh, here we go.
Week 7. The Los Angeles Chargers with that pretty boy Justin Herbert and that coach that don't know how to make in-game decisions, Brandon Staley, head to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, the Chargers, in order to get to where they want to go, which they have a Super Bowl light roster, they are pretty close. They have one of the top 5 rosters in the NFL. These two teams, wherever they play, it's always a shootout. And I didn't say the Week 18 game in LA because you don't know if starters are going to be resting or whatever is the case. But the Chargers need to eventually get past Kansas City if they want to go somewhere. And this is a big test for them. Herbert Mahomes, Week 7 in Arrowhead. Game number 4 is a game that you had on your list. This is Week 14. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills head to Kansas City Arrowhead again to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, you said it right. The 13-second game, Buffalo beating Kansas City in the regular season last year, but us not getting a chance to see it in the postseason. Every time they match up, we know it's a doozy. We know Buffalo is obsessed with Kansas City, but now we know they got to get through Cincinnati first. Game number three on this list is the game that you had number one on your list, New Year's Eve. Bengals
What?
at Kansas City, because there are two more games better than this game. Believe me, I love watching Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes go back and forth, but there are two games way more important, and both of them were not even on your list.
Okay, I need to hear. I swear, they're. Oh, I know one game you're gonna
Number
include.
two, week 9/week 14, because both of these games are going to determine who not only is the champion of the NFC East, but they will probably determine who is the number one seed in the NFC.
Oh, stop it!
Cowboys at Eagles and Eagles at Cowboys. The best divisional rivalry in the NFL, with
No
the number
way!
one seed on the line, I believe, in Dallas in week 14,
St-
which is a Sunday night
Wait a
game, by
minute.
the way.
Wait a minute. So let me get this right. We have the Super Bowl rematch in Arrowhead Stadium, and neither of us included that on the list.
No. I combined the Cowboys Eagles into one because it's week 9, week 14, whichever one you want to pick.
Okay.
My number one on the list is the game you just said, the Super Bowl rematch. Of course it is. The game I
Okay.
got screwed out of, the game that I should be a Super Bowl champion right now, but waiting for that damn field out in Arizona. Now we get him the Monday before Thanksgiving. Prime time watching. Pretty boy Patrick Mahomes. He's so great doing his little underhand passes. He's so good. He's got two Super Bowls. He gets to meet Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter wants to go out and kill somebody, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Wow. Prime time in Kansas City on a Monday night. I cannot wait to beat the brakes off of Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and that bum ass team.
Isn't it interesting that both of us had like 2 or 3 games on our list that include the Kansas City Chiefs?
I have like four.
Yes.
I think I had four because think about it. You have Mahomes versus Burrow, Mahomes versus Allen, Mahomes versus Herbert, Mahomes versus Hurts. All
Yes.
the good games are with Mahomes, obviously. Now you could say Burrow and Lawrence, Burrow and Allen. You can make a case for any one of those two.
Yeah.
But
That's also why. That's part of the reason why I include the Bengals Jaguars game is because we want to include Trevor Lawrence in that discussion with Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, maybe Patrick Mahomes is I would say is on a different level, but we want to include Trevor Lawrence in that grouping with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, whoever else you want to put in that like tier.
my biggest disagreement with you is Pittsburgh and Seattle, really?
Yeah.
No. Kenny Pickett versus Geno Smith?
Oh, come
Come on.
on.
I get it. It's a late season game, but that ain't going to be a game of the year.
Yeah,
There's
it is.
no way that's a top 5 game of the year.
Oh, come on. Hey, I could have included the Super Bowl 47 rematch, Ravens at 49ers.
That's not going to be a game of the year either. It could be top 10. I mean, who knows what San Francisco's going to be? I'm sorry. You guys all give disrespect to Philly and Dallas. Philly and Dallas are always good, entertaining games. They always come down to the wire. And that week 14 game, Sunday night in Dallas, may potentially decide who eventually gets the number one seed in the NFC. You don't believe in Dallas, but I'm sorry, Dak Prescott's the second best quarterback in the conference.
No, he's not.
So who would you? So Jared Goff, you can make an argument for. After that, I ain't listening because there is no other argument.
Okay.
Not Brock Purdy, not Sam Darnold, not Kyler Murray, not Matthew Stafford, not Justin Fields, not Kirk Cousins, certainly not Jordan Love, not anybody in the NFC South.
Okay. I love how we're just completely dismissing the NFC South, but for good reason. Like
I
the
mean,
oh
Derek Carr's good. The Saints are going to be okay. I like Carolina, but they're not. They're not as good as Philly or Detroit or.
oh I know. Actually, I'll give you a team that could be sneaky good out of the NFC South. Atlanta.
I gotta see Desmond Ritter play. I don't know what to make of Atlanta. They could win 9 games. They could win five. Their over under is at like 8.5. So I
I'm
don't
not
know. Who
trust me,
knows?
I'm not saying the Falcons could like win the Super Bowl or anything, but they could be sneaky and get one of those wild card spots. That's all I'm saying.
We
I'm not
got to move on real quickly here before we get to our final topic, which will be breaking down SummerSlam. We got to quickly talk about the alignmentship potentially in college football, Mr. Unger.
yes, because I read an article earlier today saying that possibly 4 teams could be joining the Big Ten sometime this week. Clemson, Florida State, Oregon, and Washington. You got any thoughts on that?
So I think this is a good move for college football. When USC and UCLA said that they were moving to the Big Ten, when Texas and Oklahoma said they were moving to the SEC, I love it. I want to see college football combined into two super conferences because it basically is two conferences, the Big Ten
Three.
and the SEC.
Yeah,
And so to me, you this season in college football is going to be very interesting because none of the teams, in my opinion, on this list, Clemson, Florida State, Oregon, Washington, none of them really have a chance to win the national championship. Who do, of course, it's Bama, it's Georgia, it's Michigan, it's Ohio State. Maybe USC could be in there. There's a couple other teams
I would
potentially.
include Penn State possibly.
I don't know. James Franklin as your coach, and you want to win the national championship? I don't know. I don't think they're better than Ohio State or Michigan.
That's why
But
I said maybe Penn State.
but
Maybe.
nonetheless, I think the NIL has helped college football a little bit because I've always said college football doesn't start till freaking middle of October, if not November. Sometimes you'll get a good game week 1 or week 2. After that, it's nothing but cupcakes for 5 or 6 straight weeks because these guys don't want to play anybody tough in their schedule. And by the way, every year the committee gets it wrong. I want to be on the committee so bad because the committee has no idea how to rank college football. They don't understand ratings. They don't understand marketing. Ohio State should have played Michigan last year in the semifinals. It should have been Alabama against Georgia. They screwed it up. Nonetheless, Georgia's about to go for 3 straight national championship games this year potentially. But
Yes.
it won't really make a difference. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe in terms of scheduling, it may give Ohio State, Michigan, some better opponents. I like the fact Clemson's coming over, but I don't really see it having a big impact on college football. The rich kind of get richer, the poor get poor. It's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah. Um. Well, we don't know definitively that all 4 of these teams are coming over. I would say, up if I had to just pick those out of those 4, I would say it's most likely going to be Oregon and Washington.
And I would agree with that. And to me, like the Big 12 looks like it's going to disband. The Big
Oh,
12 may disband.
I don't
Uh,
think it's that.
I mean, if it doesn't, it's pretty much irrelevant. Like I said, there's only two relevant conferences in college football.
Oh,
It's the SEC, it's the Big Ten. That's it. I hated the fact what they put in like Washington or somebody one year, or maybe it was last year. TCU got in. They ended up knocking off Michigan, which was a complete disaster for the sport. Everybody knew Georgia was going to run them over in the national championship. TCU didn't even deserve to be in the college football playoff. But
dang.
nonetheless,
Um,
nonetheless,
you
as my
there?
webcam just goes completely crashing to the floor here, that's why we have a pilot here on championship rings. Nonetheless, college football is in good hands no matter what. I really don't have a differing opinion on it.
Yes. First of all, it's great that football season is even back. Like, think about this. We have the NFL season coming up in just a few weeks where there's a number of teams you can make an argument for winning the Super Bowl. And while Georgia is the clear favorite in college football, you just listed other teams: Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. I would include USC in the discussion.
Yes,
Per-
I absolutely would include USC with Caleb Williams.
yes, I would. I know you're not as high, but I would still include Clemson because they have Dabo Sweeney. They've proven that they are consistently one of the
What
top
has
teams.
Dabo done without Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence? Unless they have a quarterback that
Fair,
I really don't
fair.
know of.
That's fair. But like Clemson, okay, the quarterback does have a fair say in it. I'll give you that. But still, I would include Clemson. But that's my point, though, is we think we know what's going to happen because Georgia and Kansas City Chiefs are the favorites in their respective sports, but we don't know. I would say this that the 2023 season is one of the more unpredictable seasons we've had in college football and the NFL. Is that a fair assessment?
It is a fair assessment. And speaking of unpredictability, we
Yes.
have SummerSlam going down this Saturday from Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. And we're not going to talk about every single match on the card because there are 8 matches on this card, a lot of them with death, and a lot of them you can make an argument for. We're not going to preview every single match, but Josh, I want to know the match. Not necessarily that you think is going to be the best match, but the match you are most looking forward to this Saturday night when SummerSlam takes place in Ford Field.
The Scottish Warrior, Drew McIntyre, versus the Ring General. That was a horrible impression of it, but I tried. Gunther. They are going to beat the ever loving piss out of each other. Like, they're Gunther's chest is probably going to look like chopped beef after this match. Because, oh my God. Like, the triple threat match that Gunther and Drew McIntyre, along with Sheamus, at WrestleMania, that was one of the best matches of WrestleMania, in my opinion. I would put it number 3, but that's just me. We can talk about best Mania matches on a different day. But I cannot wait for this Drew McIntyre Gunther match because it is just going to be old fashioned, like, chalk fest.
I agree. It's going to be hard hitting. If it wasn't for what I believe is going to be a predictable ending, I would have picked the potential tribal combat, which I think the storytelling and everything's going to be amazing. Though, unfortunately, I think it gets bottled down a little bit because Roman Reigns is going to retain the Undisputed Universal Championship. So, for me, the match with the most unpredictable outcome, which is why I think I'm looking forward to it the most, is the other World Championship match featuring Finn Balor of the Judgment Day against the World Heavyweight Champion and your favorite wrestler, Seth freaking Rollins. Because WWE has many options on their end. I don't know which option they're going to choose, and you can talk me into either option. Option A, does Finn Balor repay Seth Rollins for the 7 years of hell? By the way, I've never been a fan of Finn Balor, so I'm glad he got injured in that Universal Championship match 7 years ago.
Damn.
Really out above this guy because Finn Balor would have not been a good Universal Champion. Will Finn Balor become the new World Heavyweight Champion and redeem his story? If he does, will he walk out of Detroit World Heavyweight Champion? That's another interesting question. Or will Seth Rollins walk out World Heavyweight Champion? Or will Mr. Senor Money in the Bank Damian Priest, who looking back was absolutely the right call to win the Money in the Bank ladder match, will he walk out World Heavyweight Champion? There's a lot of interesting scenarios. I don't know which one they're going to go with. I have a feeling that Seth Rollins is going to enter. Obviously, Ford Field is the World Heavyweight Champion. He is going to retain against Finn Balor, but he will not walk out the World Heavyweight Champion because Damian Priest will pick the bones and prove to Finn Balor that he did what Finn Balor could never do, and that is put down Seth Rollins and hold the World Heavyweight Championship for the Judgment Day. Drew McIntyre and Gunther is going to absolutely slap. We know the storyline aspect of Roman Reigns and Jey Uso in Tribal Combat is going to be absolute cinema. We know Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar are going to have a fantastic match. The women's
I
triple
don't
threat
care
match.
about that match at all.
You don't care about Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar, two of the
No,
biggest stars in the business. Cody Rhodes, who is going to redeem his story at WrestleMania 40 and
he
take down the
shouldn't.
Chief. If you are paying close attention, you know that that is the storyline they are going to go. If you can put the pieces together, Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar, two guys that can never have a bad match, are going to have a good match. But ultimately, this is the match with the most unpredictability.
I'll tell you another good match. I love that they put this stipulation on it yesterday. Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey
See,
in an
I don't really
MMA.
care about that match at all. I can't wait to see Ronda Rousey leave. Let Shayna tap her out. I do think Logan Paul and Ricochet have a chance to absolutely steal the show. They're going to open the show, by the way. I think it's a fantastic opportunity because Logan Paul, by the way, has to leave right after to go see Jake Paul at a boxing fight. So Logan's going to open the show with Ricochet. It's going to be a great match. But no, I don't care about Ronda and Shayna, just like you don't care about Cody and Brock.
Okay, the primary reason I care about Ronda and Shayna is because they both come from UFC backgrounds. So and I'm a
Yes,
huge
so what?
US.
I get you're a UFC fan. I don't care about UFC. This is a WWE ring. You can compete it under MMA rules. I think it's going to be kind of cool, but the story is just not there because nobody gives a damn about Ronda Rousey anymore.
That no, that's fair. That but that's I, I totally get your side of the coin. It totally makes sense. The only reason I'm not quite looking forward to Ricochet and Logan Paul in the same way you are is because I'm sorry, there's no way Ricochet is winning this match. The reason they're
Okay,
doing
but Logan Paul is a phenomenal talent. I'm just gonna put that out there. I love
oh
Logan Paul.
yeah,
I think Logan Paul is great. There were so many people that doubted him back at WrestleMania 38. He can't wrestle. He's going to be a disaster. Every time that boy has stepped into the ring, he's done something special. And this is
oh yeah,
Ricochet's big chance. And I'm not the biggest fan of Ricochet, but I think with him and Logan Paul, they can make some magic.
oh yeah, for sure. The match is gonna be great. Talking about Logan Paul, his match with Seth Rollins, that that's I would say that was my number two match of WrestleMania. I absolutely loved that match. I think their feud overall was fantastic. You know, with Logan saying, "I've done everything you've done, but in less amount of time." It you could just tell they had great chemistry. Um, but overall, yeah, Logan has done fantastic work since coming into WWE. I hated his feud with Roman Reigns, but the match was great. I didn't like the feud with the Miz, but hey, I enjoyed the match. So yeah, he's put in solid work.
Josh, it's been an honor. This will conclude the first episode of Championship Rings. We will premiere on Tuesday, September 5th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this YouTube channel. Mark your calendars. We're going to be sending sparks and shockwaves for the sports industry as we debate all things NFL, fresh off the payback and the all in and the all out pay per view slash premium live events. It's going to be a hell of a show that we're going to try to cram into 1 hour. We thank you guys so much for listening. And Josh, I think this was a success.
I would say so.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. This is Bench Championship Rings, and we will see you all next week. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, do all those things. Make sure to follow us over on that social media. You can see there, right there at the bottom of the screen, at Rings Champion on Twitter, at Rings Champion on Instagram. Thank you to Voltage Live as we're in collaboration with them, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
See ya.